We're happy to be joined this afternoon by Charlie Bailey, the chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia, to help add some insight to what we are seeing today. Charlie, it's good to have you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
Oh, you're welcome. The organizers saying this could be the largest day of protest in American history. What do you make of this moment?
Well, I think what you see is thousands of Georgians and millions of Americans that are coming out to protest against, an old fool who thinks he's a king and has betrayed the people of this country and the people of this state. Spent his time jacking up folks' health care costs, now gas prices because of an ill thought out war in the Middle East. He spends his time trying to put his name on ballrooms or anything he can find, and he doesn't care a whit about the people of this state. And people are saying, you know what, we're sick and tired of it, enough. And they're showing that with every special election we have. They're going to show it again in November. They're going to show it this May with two Supreme Court races and a Court of Appeals race here in Georgia.
Yeah, and Charlie, this is being called a decentralized movement. There are a lot of different people organizing different events across the state. They start at different times, they end at different places. What do you think is important about these local groups organizing versus one message being shared across the entire United States?
Well, I think really what it shows is that this isn't, some grand scheme planned by just one entity, right? It's organic, it's people coming out and using their constitutional rights to say that we're not going to stand for this. And it shows the breadth of that feeling. Polls can tell us a lot, empirical data, and you see that Trump's in the worst position that he's ever been in his two terms. And people, it's not just Democrats, and that's also what this speaks to. Independents and Republicans are souring on this Republican leadership. And you're seeing it across the state. I think y'all mentioned this. This is not just happening in downtown Atlanta. This is happening all over the state, dozens and dozens of these things. And so we encourage all those people that are coming out to come out again, to vote in May, but also sign up at georgiademocrat.org and get involved. Get involved in a campaign, get involved in fighting back against these would-be authoritarians.
Charlie, not sure if you read the New York Times this morning. They wrote about this third protest, and they ask, is it enough to influence the course of the nation's politics? It says, can the protest harness that energy and actually turn it into victories come November, as you're discussing? How do you avoid a primal scream that fades into a whimper, as the New York Times put it?
Well, it hadn't yet, right? Each one of these has been bigger than the last, and it certainly hadn't yet in elections. So I'll just set out it's not happening yet. And the way you avoid it is to get involved. Is to continue to come out and vote in these elections whenever you get a chance to vote against these folks, like I said it before, but these people in the Supreme Court in this one Court of Appeals race that have ruled in ways that have taken away people's rights, taken away the right of a woman to choose in our state about her reproductive health. So the way you prevent that from happening is people just keep continuing to be involved. And then we, as the Democratic Party of Georgia, doing everything we can. We've got people out at all these protests all over the state. We've got yard signs for our Supreme Court candidates. We've got sign-ups. And we do everything we can to both promote these things and then get out there and pull people into the movement. So that they can take actions in their lives and in their communities to make things better. And you're seeing the results of that. That's what happened with the PSC race. That's how we won the biggest statewide win for a Democrat since 1986. That's how we flipped a state house race over in Oconee County in Athens, a Trump plus 12 seat. That's why Sean Harris is overperforming in the most Republican congressional district in the state. It's because we're out there doing everything we can to let people know, hey, this is how you can be involved. It is important. It is very important to have these protests. And it's not just theater, okay? It's not just oh, you say it and then it goes into the ether. Also, elected officials pay attention to this. Not just Democrats, Republicans pay attention as well. They know whatever they say in a statement, they know these are hard-working Georgians that are taking their time and are showing with their feet, with their voices, that they're not putting up with this. And that can have an effect also on people's behavior.
But the White House issued a statement saying the only people who care about these Trump derangement therapy sessions are the reporters who are paid to cover them. If you're implying that the Republican Party actually does care and they are watching what's unfolding today, what do you think the White House is truly thinking about these behind the scenes?
They're worried. Let me tell you this, Dan. They are worried. I don't care what they say in some fool statement. They're not going to tell you they're worried. And, whether they're Burt Jones or, Buddy Carter or Mike Collins or Derek Dooley, they ain't going to tell you they're worried, but they're worried. They see these polls. And what you see in these protests is it is the physical manifestation of the empirical data that you see in these polls. People are fed up. They do not want a government. And in Georgia, we've had a Republican government for 23 years. 23 years, and the American dream is less attainable now than it was 23 years ago when they took power. That combined with what's going on in D.C., people are not happy. They're showing that, and the Republicans are very, very worried, no matter what they tell you in a statement.
Some of the Republican pushback we've heard is that, if this was not a democracy, you wouldn't be able to have so many millions of people marching across the United States. How do you respond to that? What's the message you want to say back to Republicans who are saying, look, by being out there, you're proving that this is a democracy?
Yeah, we know it's a democracy. We know it's a republic. The problem is that party, the Republican Party, has been taken over by people that would rather not it be. And that is what Donald Trump is demonstrating. So what this is a protest against his behavior, against the D.C. insiders, these Republicans in power. It is a protest against them trying to change this country into something that is not. And so, yeah, we're well aware we get to vote. That's why people, are coming out to vote. And let me say this. When you've got Donald Trump and these Republicans in the state have gone along with it as well, they can come in and raid the Fulton County, boards of election. This attempt to try to intimidate voters, it ain't going to work. And that's what today shows. People are not going to put up with it. So yes, they're correct that this is still a republic, and we're going to keep it that way.
Charlie, if I could switch gears a little and ask you about the war in Iran and how that's changing your playbook over the next few months. Even just a few weeks ago, the stock market was near a record high. Gas prices were in a manageable level. It looked like inflation was being brought under control, but that's all of a sudden things a little bit different in all three categories. So how does that change your playbook on the issue of affordability that we hear from so many Americans being a key issue this year?
Well, it's just another representation, Dan, of the betrayal that Donald Trump has brought to the American people. He said he was not going to write. I think in his victory speech, 2024, he said, I'm not going to get into any wars. I'm not going to start any wars. And now we have our brave men and women at risk in the Middle East. We've already had one Georgia family lose a loved one because of this ill-conceived ego trip. I mean, I don't even know. He can't even explain why, we are putting our men and women who are performing admirably, but putting them in harm's way. And now back home, everybody is feeling the brunt of these rising gas prices. Costs had already been rising across the board. And now Georgians and Americans are dealing with these rising gas prices. It is yet another representation of an old fool that only cares about himself and a political party and the Republicans that only care about him. They don't give a darn about the people that are actually trying to make it. They're trying to build a life that's a little bit better for their kids than the one that they had. And they don't care about those people. And that's what this ill-conceived war represents. It's just yet another example of these people that have been given great power. And with that power, they are enriching themselves, enriching their families, cutting regular folks' health care, and now, got men and women in harm's way and jacking up the cost of gas for every American in this country. It's part of why you're seeing these thousands of people, in the state coming out, tens of thousands of people coming out, and millions around the country.
And, when you look at all of those protesters, a lot of it is about visibility. It's about showing those signs, the large number of people marching. But you also brought up gas prices. That is extremely visible. When people are driving down the road and they're seeing those numbers on the roadside billboards, how important do you think it is to keep those issues, that issue of visibility, keeping that in front of people? How important is that as you look forward toward the midterms?
Well, we're going to keep organizing around. Their actions are what is causing, the people of Georgia and the people of this country to come out like this. And it's their actions that are causing these gas prices to go up with no end in sight. And so it is our job as a Democratic Party of Georgia to keep talking to good folks like y'all, get the message out that people don't have to put up with this. They get a say in how this is going to go. And I hope folks understand from when they're out at these protests or seeing them on TV that you're not alone. The vast majority of people out there are there with you, and that this is in your power to affect. Maybe not right this moment because these people are in offices, but elections are coming. And they have not taken this democracy yet. And you get to have a say. So stand with us, stand with the Democratic Party of Georgia. And this is bigger than just Democrats. I saw a sign in this crowd earlier that was Republicans Against Tyranny. You ain't got to call yourself a Democrat to understand that the Republican Party ain't for you, and they're not for your family. And we are here. You can join us, and you ain't got to call yourself a Democrat, but join us to elect people to the Supreme Court that actually care about your rights, to our Georgia Supreme Court, and then come November to the legislature, governor, reelect Jon Ossoff, people that actually care about you and your family. And we're going to keep doing that organizing. And as I said before, get on georgiademocrat.org, sign up, and we'll put you to work to beat back these people that are trying to take your rights.
Going to live look at the marchers in Atlanta, looking like a large crowd with several thousand, again, nationwide. They are organizers thinking maybe close to 9 million, with the main flagship one today in Minneapolis set to get underway soon. We do expect to go there live shortly. These large demonstrations have long played a role in American politics, from civil rights, anti-war protests. We saw the Women's March a few years ago, of course, Black Lives Matter. What do you think the history books are going to write about this moment decades from now?
I think they're going to say the people of this country recognized an old fool that wanted to be king when they saw it, and they stood up and they said, we ain't having it. That's what I think. And this is a proud country. We have not always gotten things right, but we are we move generally in the right direction. And you don't need a chair of a political party or any politician to tell you that what's going on is wrong. And I think that's what is going to be written. I think it's going to be written that the American people took it in their own hands to keep their republic.
You headed out to one of these protests? I thought that was our deadline. We had to get you out the door. What are you hoping to see if you show up at one of these?
Well, I'm actually here soon going to head and see our men's national team play a soccer match downtown. But we've got folks all across the state at these, and I've been at protests in the past for these No Kings protests. But I think what I'm hoping to see is what we're seeing now, which is everyday folks coming together to stand against these Republicans that are, working on their own behalf and on the behalf of billionaires, but not on behalf of the working people of this state. And I'm getting reports, I mean, on my phone, from all over the state of people coming out to do that. And it's a proud moment to see people in this state. And again, not just in Atlanta, in a lot of small towns. I'm from a rural West Georgia. We're seeing it all over the state. People coming out and showing that they're not going to put up with this anymore.
We'll let you get on with your day and get to the soccer game here in a moment. Any parting thoughts for our viewers today? And my final question, I think, for you is, today's protests seem to be fairly broad, a number of issues being raised. I mean, if the election coming up in November, what do you think would be the singular issue that would push your party over the edge come November? One issue.
One issue is the economic hardship people are feeling because of the policies the Republicans have pursued both in D.C. and in the state for 23 years. Policies that reward wealth and not work. The rising costs of healthcare caused by those healthcare cuts that Donald Trump and Buddy Carter and Mike Collins in Congress, they're now running for U.S. senators. They voted for those healthcare cuts. They voted for tax cuts for billionaires to fund those healthcare cuts, to fund those. These gas prices that are going up. It is just the policies of these Republicans have made it harder to build the American dream. And that is what is going to be on the ballot in November.
Charlie Bailey, Chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia. We appreciate your time and your analysis today, sir. Thank you.